Hello, my name is John Palamanzala. Welcome to the Music of Musical Rock. This is the documentary where we'll be looking at all the music being played in Musical Rock 8. We'll be looking at the band's progression from being in the bunkers all the way up to the Playhouse Theatre here in Stratford upon Avon. What obstacles have you had to overcome?
Basically, it's just sort of not being in charge. It's kind of takes some time to adjust to, really. There's lots of bits to be cued and...
We've had to face many obstacles, really, as an ensemble and as an individual. So, during rehearsals and practice and time.
What has been the hardest part during the rehearsals?
I think there's certain pieces of music have been difficult. Joyful, there's got a lot of chord changes in. Some of the stuff we were doing in Fame, there's some really tricky parts, but in a way that's kind of fun, you know, because the students really kind of get into that and really want to learn those pieces. I think it's just sometimes just keeping the momentum going, keeping the motivation going. I think now we're going into our rehearsals with the cast. I think the musicians can see where all that hard work pays off. But I think sometimes when we're in these practice rooms here and we're going through the same pieces over and over again, it can get a little bit numbing, a bit soul destroying sometimes, just going over and over. But again, it's that discipline of keep practicing and keep practicing.
Can you give examples on how you've worked with your band?
Me and Michael, it's like in the song Hard Work, we figured out this little harmony guitar part that we came up with. It's really cool. And yeah, it's just sort of a lot of the time, especially when there's like two guitarists, it's trying to play something different to what the other's doing or similar, or just depends what effect you want to create, you know, if we want it to be simple or complex, you know, there's lots of options.
We worked well together. I think the time it's taken us to get to this point has been like worth it. Like, I think we've all worked hard, we've all learnt our parts. There may have been a few times where we've all got a little bit impatient, but we got through it. Like, you know, I think we've worked well together as an overall ensemble.
How have you helped in the production of Musical Rock?
Yeah, my role is to guide the musicians, really, and just give them a helping hand, keep them on task. When they're stuck with things, is to kind of help them, but allow them to kind of fix the problems and you know, arrange the music a little bit. Some of the music I had written out for them at the beginning of the project, and then that allowed them to see how I would write the music out. So when it came to the second act, the second kind of part of the music, they were all writing out all their own scores. We've had another student who's writing music for the opening, another student that's gone off and done an independent project, two other students that are doing the music for the foyer as people walk in. So that's actually only left us with about 8 musicians. In previous years, we've had up to 20 musicians sharing that music out. So for these guys, they've had to do a lot more than in previous years. So if we take Chloe, who's playing piano, she's playing on every single piece of music. Whereas in previous years, the piano players have probably played on 12 pieces. She's playing on 30 odd. So for this particular year group, it's been a real challenge for them to learn every piece of music and get it to the standard that it is. And you know, they've worked really, really hard.
Does your lecture help you / challenge you in any way?
Well, yeah, it's like it gives us different points out, ways we can improve what we're doing, especially in like these musicals, like, and like most of us are rock musicians, so we're not used to playing this style of music.
Oh yeah, our lecturers do challenge us. Our actual lecturer Rob is pushing us. He's got us through the rehearsals, making sure everything's kind of clean enough to be presented to Alex, and then he's come and done some sessions with us throughout the week where he's had small moans at us, and we've had to fix these mistakes.
How have you helped your students?
So my role is to get them to a point where the music's ready to be played with the singers and the dancers in the theatre. So it's working in kind of music practice rooms such as this and going through each piece and sort of just guiding them and helping them and you know, maybe helping them out with certain chord voicings on guitars or just with structures of songs.
How long have you been playing your instrument for?
I've been playing guitar for 10 years now, and bass for about 4 or 5.
Since I was probably about 8 or 9, so 9-10 years, which is mad to think about really. Should be way better. Yeah.
How will you guys work together to make the music more interesting?
Well, it's just sort of locking into whatever's going on, just sort of making sure there's lots of parts where it's like very tight, so like stops and slow down, speed ups, so it's just making sure everyone's sort of on the same page with everything, really.
Well, at this point on now that we're on, as we'll be receiving feedback from the musical director, Rob, I think we're all just going to have to sit there and take it and embrace it and listen to what they're saying, make sure to write down everything that they're changing and correcting, and then go home, practice it and come back and rehearse it. So we're all doing the same thing really.
What best moments have you had teaching your students?
I think being at this college on this project, this is always over. This is the 4th year I've done this. It's always great to see those students growing. I think back to 4 years ago, and we really had to battle the students into doing this project. We don't want to do musical theatre. Why do you want to play musical theatre songs? And then after the last night, they're all hugging me. They're all going, "It's the best thing I've ever done. It's the best gig ever."
I love this song so much.
And just seeing them sort of grow over this project is amazing. That's, for me as a lecturer, to see that and see them not only mature musically, but mature as people.
How do you feel about moving from the bunkers to the GV?
We'd done like 2 weeks in the Cube. Well, we've had it set up how it would be, but it's been fine really. It's just the same. It's just that some people are positioned in different places, that's all really. You got a bit more personal space when you're in there, so it's great.
When you're just sat in the rehearsal room and you're rehearsing as just the musicians, just us, like we've been used to like playing with each other for we're kind of familiar with playing with each other, and when you come from the bunkers into the GV, it certainly just gets a lot more alive.
What do you think is the most difficult thing about working in a group?
I know in previous projects there's been like sort of, like a power struggle maybe, like...
Ooh, this one really could spice things up. No, I don't know. I mean, I suppose, not that we've had any issues with it. If anyone's like putting in less effort and they're not willing to kind of learn the parts and things, then I suppose it could, because especially further on down the line now, if there's some person who, if any member doesn't get as committed, then with like a week left towards a performance, it's going to be hard to fit in a cover, and that could like screw us over big time.
Do you think you've performed well with your students?
Yeah, I mean it's a real big challenge for our students. A lot of them come to college, and they want to be kind of rock stars. They have dreams of playing all this rock music, and then their final project they're playing musical theatre music, and it's kind of a different musical world for them, and it's a real challenge. They've got to use sheet music. They've got to write out their own guitar parts, piano parts, drum parts, but it really does prepare them for the real world.
How would you describe the band's relationship?
It's points where it's been rocky, points where it's been really good, but I think now, because it's near the end, sort of back to where we started, it's all sort of, everyone's cool with each other, everyone's getting along pretty well, but hasn't always been that way. So
We all get on well with each other, we all give each other feedback, we're all eager to learn together, and then we all want to go home at the end of the day. Like, it gets to the point where it's like, a lot have been taken in now. It's good to go home and get a cup of tea.
Are you stressed at all leading to the live show?
well, there's pressure to like get things right, and also just to make sure you're doing things like the coursework in time for whenever it needs to be done, but not really.
A little bit, yeah. I feel much better now after this time, like after hearing, you know, good feedback from Al. I think I'm a little less stressed, but still, it's still a little bit stressful.
Have you made progress from when you started?
Yes, obviously, you know, for some of those musicians, some of them hadn't really read much sheet music. They hadn't written much of their own music out, and by the end of this project, they're doing that. And when the musical director will sort of say, "Oh, bar 55, there's a little guitar part here. I need that putting in," they're able to look at the score and just go, "Okay, I'm doing it," and really seeing that sort of grow. And same with the drummers; they're not used to usually sort of reading music and sort of following chord charts, but they're really progressing. They're really getting used to, and even things just like working with a conductor. So, you know, actually the conductor's doing this and the drummer's actually watching. So they're used to normally just sort of playing, setting the tempo themselves, but actually watching and all the little stops and starts. And they're the difficult things, but they're the things that everyone makes progress with. It's exciting and scary at the same time. I think, you know, the students have been doing really, really well, but there's still little bits that they're kind of getting wrong and little bits that need to be fixed. And I think we've got one more dress rehearsal run before we've got an audience, and you know, I think they'll do it. It'll be really good.
It hasn't really hit me yet, so I know. I guess the adrenaline's going to get going later. So, but right now I'm chill.
We are very excited because I think with an audience we'll up our game quite a lot.
When I'm in this chase, no, but beforehand, you know, you get a bit nervous. You know, the pressure's on. You don't want to mess up.
Now, this has been the Musical Rock documentary. We hope you know more about the musicians involved in the Musical Rock 8 and their relationships as a band and how they pulled it all together. See you later.